Welcome back. In this video, I want to ask a very simple question. Is medication enough on its own? And in short, I don't think it is. I think that in order to have a transformation, in order to have a great result as much as possible to a person, which is different for everyone, you need to combine medication with surgery. Now, that is a very controversial opinion that I know loads of people will not agree with me. But I have been on medication, and I have had not one but 2 hair transplants. So I think I can offer my case as an example. Now, why I think this is because it really comes down to facing a losing battle. So with medication, as men, we all produce dihydrotestosterone, and we know that DHT induces miniaturization on people who are sensitive to DHT. And obviously it varies from person to person, but as a rule of thumb, most people will only do something about their hair loss when it's too late. So in other words, when you see scalp, when you've really thinned out, you might go on finasteride or minoxidil. You might be totally understandably frightened about either of them drugs, and you might not be particularly diligent, and thus more time elapses and more damage is done. You might go for a dosage that is so small it makes hardly any difference. More damage is done. And as people who are having hair loss, you are facing a losing battle, unfortunately, because it is going to progress. And medication is used on areas, what responds to minoxidil and finasteride is where there's hair to begin with that is miniaturized, but no amount of that medication is ever going to get your hair back to where it was in its golden years, in its heyday. And on areas where, most of it's gone, that's it, it's finished. Game over for those areas. So this is why I really believe that transplantation comes in, because medication doesn't resurrect the graveyard at the end of the day. And because the hair loss is ongoing, it's just going to slow it down. So you're still going to get worse. It's just at a much, much, much slower rate. Now, often on people who are experiencing hair loss, what they really need is a transformation. And this is where a transplant comes in, because it does give you a transformation. You can put hair where there was never hair naturally. And a transplant can give you framing, whereas medication can't, because you can't target certain areas. You can't say, I want a bit of hair here. I want some hair in my temporal peaks. I want some hair in my widow's peak. I want more. Medication doesn't work like that. It's hit and miss. Certain areas will respond better than others. For example, the crown responds best to finasteride and minoxidil. The temporal points do not respond great at all to medication. The central tuft, the widow's peak, does not respond great. The mid-scalp does, but the problem is where we want hair is on this outline. It is where the frame is, and that can only be done artificially to get that back fully, I believe. And especially if you don't have hair in areas to begin with. I never had temporal points, so I had to artificially have them put there. A transplant has given me what you see here. Now, obviously, combined with medication, you're going to get a superior result then, because the medication is taking care of everything else, and it's helping with the overall longevity. And medication, of course, thickens hair up in certain areas. So this is why I believe that medication and a transplant really is what's required. You know, I couldn't do this. Probably 2 years ago. The comb stays in the hair because it's so thick, because it's been transplanted and there's medication. It's incredible. Now, I certainly know that this information doesn't apply to everyone. Everyone's case is different. But I think you can see where I'm coming from. And if you're watching this video, clearly hair loss is something that bothers you. And if you're taking the plunge on medication, you're going to step up again, you're willing to do that. So what I'm saying is that if you can get the right surgeon, and if you're a candidate, get a transplant with medication. There's no point in being on medication for years and years and wanting improvement in certain areas that will never come, and bothering you, putting up with it. If you're watching these YouTube videos on medication 2, 3, 4 years later, there's something wrong. There's a problem there that needs to be fixed and needs to be addressed, and clearly medication isn't doing it. This is where a transplant comes in. It really is transformative when it's done right on the right person. It is a totally positive transformation. Like, I'm not the same person since I had the transplant. Life is amazing. Life is brilliant. You know, like you feel invincible. And that might sound strange, but I don't think it does to people watching. Because I think people who are watching this video know fully well the importance of hair, and I'm sure they badly want it. So this is what I'm saying. Consider combining them if you're in this category. You know, I am totally pro-transplant, and I'm not afraid to show that. So thank you for listening. More videos to come as always, and I hope this information is at least somewhat beneficial.